Welcome back to YogaSteady Studio, an original hot yoga podcast for hot yoga enthusiasts, especially hot yoga teachers, new and longtime students, and as always, skeptics. If you want to be challenged in your practice, or you are looking to challenge the mystery behind this powerful practice, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Jennifer Rochelle, and today we're talking about bees. Not metaphorical ones, real, literal bees, and not the busy ones either. We're talking about retired bees. We're also going to talk about the biggest breakthrough that often comes in your yoga practice. Sometimes the most touching news stories don't come from the halls of government or the world of celebrity gossip. Sometimes they come from a garden in Hampshire, England, a quiet patch of countryside where something beautiful just happened. Britain has officially opened its first ever retirement home for bees. Yes, retired bees. This isn't just a sanctuary for endangered species or a rescue shelter for abused animals. It's a place built specifically for aging worker bees. Bees who've spent their short, extraordinary lives pollinating flowers, supporting ecosystems, and let's be clear, making our planet livable. The man behind this sanctuary is George Annis, a beekeeper who noticed something no one else really talks about. When bees get old, they don't die in the hive. They often leave intentionally to die alone. It's built into their instincts not to burden the colony, a kind of noble exit. But George had a different idea. What if these bees didn't have to disappear? What if they had a space to rest, safely, softly, surrounded by flowers, shaded from wind and rain? And so, the Bee Sanctuary Project was born. In this garden, there are no hives, no honey demands, no queen to serve. Just wildflowers, gentle shelter, and time. Time to be, not do. This project aims to raise awareness about the devastating decline of pollinators across the globe, a crisis that impacts our food supplies, biodiversity, and entire ecosystem. But what struck me wasn't just the environmental message. It was the dignity of it all. He didn't create a place to save the bees. He created a space to honor them. And maybe, just maybe, there's something in that for all of us too. When I read this story, I paused. Not because I've got a beekeeping hobby, I don't, but because something about it landed, pun intended. We talk a lot in yoga about letting go, coming home to yourself, or retiring the ego. But what does that really look like? Maybe it looks a little like a tired bee, no longer trying to prove her worth through constant flight and service, simply resting among the flowers. There's a part of the yoga journey, especially as a teacher or a longtime practitioner, where you stop buzzing for everyone else. You've taught the class, taken the training, hit your peak poses, and then what? What happens after the push, after the chase, after the striving? Do you have spaces, real or symbolic, where you can land without expectation, without needing to produce, without needing to lead? In many ways, that's what the final Savasana asks of us, to not just let go of tension, but of the identity that's been driving us the whole class. No more proving, no more performance, just presence. George Annis made a sanctuary for bees, but maybe we can all learn from that act of gentleness. Who builds the sanctuary for you? When do you stop serving the hive and simply let yourself be? And how could you, like those bees, find dignity not just in the doing, but in the resting? All right, as always, we're going to take it back to the dialogue. Today, we're going to talk about half tortoise pose. Half tortoise pose, Ardha Karmasana. Come to the middle of the towel. Sit down, Japanese style, kneel down position. Feet flat on the floor, no gap underneath the ankles. Arms over the head sideways, hands palms together, only cross your thumbs. Stretch your arms towards the ceiling. Elbows locked, arms always touching the ears, chin up. Keep your hips touching the heels throughout the posture. Stomach in, exhale breathing and go down, arms and head together. Touch your forehead on the floor, little fingers touching the floor, the rest of your arms in the air, elbows locked. Stretch your arms more forward. Make sure your shoulders hurt. Scapula coming out of the body, chin away from the chest. Stretch forward more, chin forward. Heels touching the hips, eyes open, breathing always normal. Inhale, breathing, and gently come up, arms and head together. Arms down side, turn around, lie down on your back, and relax. This posture gives you more relaxation in 30 seconds than 8 hours of sleep. High-speed blood goes to the brain cells, activates the brain. You re-energize, revitalize, reorganize unused and overused brain cells. 93% of the brain cells are sleeping in the cold storage, like the dead meat. You never used it. You never even knew you have it. And 7%, you keep using it again and again and again. They're abused. You activate, recharge each and every one, and they start functioning, working properly. You don't need sleep anymore. Yoga class is a gas station. It gives you energy. Energies consisted by relaxation and nutrition. So I decided to not just read the dialogue for first set half tortoise, I also wanted to read the instructions for the savasana between first set and second set half tortoise. There's a line in that particular dialogue that always makes me smile. Half because it's so bizarre and half because it's so true. 93% of the brain cells are sleeping in the cold storage like the dead meat. Classic Bikram. A little gross, a little funny, but also kind of genius. Let's set the scene. Half tortoise is over. Lying on your mat, you're starting to count down the asanas. What do I have left? One more set of half tortoise, camel, rabbit. In your mind, you're starting to count down to the end of class, which means that you're not really in the present moment. You're looking to the future. And then your teacher might say, this posture gives you more relaxation in 30 seconds than 8 hours of sleep. And you come right back to the present, challenging that. And you think, yeah, right. But then it hits you. This is honey. This is the moment when the frantic buzzing of your body finally stills if you let it. When the nectar you've been brewing in all those uncomfortable postures starts to pool in the quiet. When you stop performing and you simply absorb. The practice, especially the original hot yoga, is built on this sacred rhythm. Work and rest, push and pause, effort and surrender. Without the surrender, there is no sweetness, no clarity, no awakening of those 93% brain cells Bikram insists are frozen. It's like that in the bee sanctuary. The bee doesn't lose value because it stops flying and producing honey. It allows itself to be complete. And so do you, there in Savasana. So this is why we don't rush Savasana. This is why we don't skip second set. This is why when you lie in stillness, especially after half tortoise, your body hums, not with exhaustion, but with quiet, vital energy. Yoga class is a gas station. And just like the bee who returns to the hive full of pollen, we return to our mat to refill our strength, our purpose, and that deep life-giving nectar we carry into the world. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. Wasn't I supposed to review Hot Yoga Udinard this week? Let's just say I haven't forgotten, but the time wasn't right. And if I've learned anything from years of teaching and practicing yoga, it's this. The practice shows up when it's meant to. The review will come, trust me. In the meantime, I took a detour, one I think you'll appreciate. I joined a live stream class with Kata Hot Yoga, a studio based in Thailand, that quietly holds space for something really powerful. The teacher's dialogue was simple, clear, and refreshingly precise. Nothing flashy, nothing overly dramatic, just pure guidance, like a well-lit path through the fog of my own overthinking. And that's the magic of this kind of instruction. It gets me out of my head and into my body. It reminds me that yoga practice doesn't need to be entertainment. This particular class helped me to remember I don't want to escape from the world. I want to be part of the good that it still holds. And here's the kicker. Kata Hot Yoga offers free live stream classes every single day at 6:15 a.m. Eastern Time. Yes, you heard that right. Free. That generosity isn't just a marketing gimmick either. It's a reflection of the studio's heart. And the owner is still involved in the day-to-day management of the studio, and you can tell that level of care trickles down into the teachers, the atmosphere, and even through the screen during an online class. I know this wasn't the in-person review I originally planned, but maybe it was the one we all needed. And Udenard, I'll be there soon. So what did we learn this week? That the sweetest nectar, whether it's the honey made by bees or the stillness that arises in Savasana, takes time. It takes care, and it takes the willingness to stop, notice, and receive. From the UK's first ever bee retirement home to the quiet simplicity of a clear live stream class with Kata Hot Yoga, we're reminded that sustainability of the planet, of our minds, of our practice requires attention. It requires presence, and it requires that we show up. Next week on YogaSteady Studio, we're going to be talking about the Rosetta Stone. In 1799, a group of soldiers stumbled across a stone that would change the course of history, simply by language. Etched with 3 scripts, the Rosetta Stone became the key to unlocking the mystery of Egyptian hieroglyphics after centuries of silence. But it wasn't just a discovery, it was a translation, a revelation, and a reminder that sometimes what seems unreadable in our lives just needs a new lens. Next week, we're diving into the story of the Rosetta Stone, how it was found, why it matters, and what it can teach us about yoga practice and the way we decode our own inner language. Because what if your practice was your Rosetta Stone? Thanks for listening. As always, the stories I tell you come from a mix of research and lived experience. What I read, what I teach, and what I practice. And I include all the resources and sources in my show notes. If you want to keep this conversation going, or if you're looking for a place to practice, study, or even train to teach, you can find me on most social media platforms at YogaSteady Studio, or you can head to www.bikramyogastudy.com for the details. I truly hope one day we get to meet in the hot room. Until then, stay steady, keep listening, and remember, lock your knee.